Good morning, traders. This is Matt with Newbie-Trader.com. I want to bring you a special video this morning due to the FOMC announcement today to help prepare you for what to expect and how these days typically go. Today, we might get some pretty crazy volatility depending on what the announcement is. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. I also want to give you the key levels for today, so maybe that can help you out as well. But before we get into that, let's just quickly look at the ultimate fractal tool for yesterday. As you can see, we had quite a few trades yesterday. Basically, what is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trades. 6 of the 7 worked out. Got a signal to go long, went up into our resistance zone, signal to go short, take profit down here at our first buy zone. Got a signal long. That one made it back to the open. Signal short, came down, tested this pivot low. Now this long went right here. This is one that just barely made it up a few ticks. Maybe got the first contract off as it went into the mid half back line, but ended up ultimately stopping out. Another short, tested the lows, and finally a long there into the end. So pretty active day. It was a lot of back and forth, but nonetheless, we did open in our high probability gap range, and they were able to go ahead and fill the half gap and fill the full gap. Now, let's go ahead and get into kind of what we're expecting today. And first of all, let me just kind of give you a little drawing on how the day typically goes. A lot of times, first off in the morning, we'll get a decent move one way or another. Let's just say today we happen to go to the downside first. That usually happens right after the open, and that move or the rotation typically lasts until about 10:30 or so. Okay, you might get a 10 o'clock reversal in there, but after about 10:30, things basically start to slow down, and the market starts to kind of chop back and forth. Maybe 11 o'clock, but it usually holds some sort of rotational pattern, typically into about 1:15 to 1:30. All right, so 1:15, 1:30 time frame. The market between 10:30 and then it's pretty dead. A lot of rotation, a lot of back and forth, mostly chop. Now this is just typical. This isn't how it happens every time, but this is kind of what to expect. So expect a move first thing this morning. Mid-morning, expect the market to start rotating, and expect it to rotate up until about 1:15, 1:30. Then at 1:15, 1:30 time frame, then you'll get a move that I call the pre-market run up or run down. And then so 1:15, 1:30, you'll start seeing some activity, some volatility in the market, and typically you'll get a run in one direction or another, and then that lasts up until the announcement. Now, at 2 o'clock, when the FOMC announcement comes out, then it gets wild. You should probably just back off for about 15 minutes because typically, regardless of the anticipation of the announcement, volatility picks up, stops get hit, those type of things. And the move typically goes like this. On the FOMC announcement, you'll get a big run up one direction, and we would like to see the market continue higher by making a lower high or a higher low and a higher high. That would be normal market structure, okay, where you're making higher highs, higher lows. Well, on FOMC day, it's usually different. On FOMC, you'll typically get a big move one direction, and wherever like the announcement came out at, a lot of times they will break the pattern and they'll actually come down below. And what that does, that freaks a lot of people out. So let's say people were long and they don't take profits and they're holding, they hold all the way back. And when it goes lower, then they freak out. And a lot of times some folks will jump short on that break of that swing low, only for this thing to ultimately turn around and go back higher. And then after 15, 20 minutes, you might get a few flag patterns, and then it ultimately picks a direction. So what does this mean for your trading? Well, for the first I would say 15 minutes to a half hour, from say 2 to 2:30, you're probably best to sit on the sideline and just see which way the market decides to go. If you've watched FOMC announcements and traded them for some time, let's say you've been observing the market for well over a year and you've seen several of these announcements, then that's fine. You can participate a little earlier. But what happens, I want you to be aware of that broken pattern. Typically, there's a big run up or run down. They go beneath kind of where they started, and then ultimately they continue in that direction. Now, what's good about FOMC announcements, this direction that it ultimately goes, so if you wait 30 minutes, if you just kind of sit on the sideline and you determine the direction, that direction typically will hold through Friday. So no matter what happens around the first 30 minutes today, typically there will be a direction established by mid-afternoon. And we have to kind of wait till after Yellen speaks and all that kind of stuff. But by the end of the day, we have a direction in a way that the market's accepted or rejected the announcement, whatever it may be. And let's just say it happens to be to the upside today. That will usually carry through Friday. Now, if we happen to get a big reaction to the downside, this could be violent, and it could be, the market could really sell off. So we don't know which way it's going to go. All we want to do is we want to be careful in that first 15 to 30 minutes, because we have these patterns that typically break. Once we get a direction established, a lot of times it will carry through till Friday. So that's kind of what to expect today. Now, I also want to give you a little extra bonus. Go ahead and give you our high probability gap and key levels for today. So let me just change my cursor here. So our high probability gap today, if the market opens between 73.75 and 59, you would expect them to go ahead and fill the full gap, which right now the full gap is in this 66.50 area, or 89% of the time that will happen, and 94% of the time will fill the halfway point between the open and that yesterday's close, which we call the half gap. So that's the gap range, and I'll go ahead and give you our pivot levels for today. So we have 3 areas above the market and 3 areas below the market where we expect to see a reaction. And these might be pivot points that the market turns on after the FOMC announcement. But today, the chop zone, or the central line, or pivot, or whatever you want to call it, it's not an official pivot that you may know. These are calculations that we do off of a few different techniques. We use some Gann techniques, we use some Elliott wave techniques, we use some Fibonacci techniques, and then we also use market profile. So we take kind of 4 of those various techniques that are all great in their own right. We combine them, throw them on a chart, look for areas of confluence, and that's how we come up with these areas. So based on that, we think today's going to pivot around 69. Now, FOMC is going to throw a lot of volatility, and these levels can really be taken off, can go through quickly. But under normal market conditions, look for the market to trade in and around 69. You'll have a lot of buyers hanging out around this 80-81 area, and then you'll have a lot of sellers hanging out around this 80-81. That's our key sell level for the day. You can tell that by it being kind of a solid red zone. And then we have some minor sell areas if that area does ultimately break, up at 87.50 and all the way up at 97.50. Now to the downside, we have a minor buy zone at 61.75, a minor buy zone at 50.75, and then ultimately the key buyers are going to be hanging out at 42. So anyway, enjoy FOMC day. Don't panic. Don't go crazy. Just let it happen. And after 15, 20 minutes, wherever you're comfortable, the market starts settling in. Get involved. Use your tools. Use your signals. And if there's anything we can do for you over here at Newbie-Trader.com, feel free to shoot us a note. Come check out some of our free training videos and use some of our free indicators. Hope this is helpful. Have a great day and good luck.